Hi again, um, Joyce O'Keller from Inner Tuition Life. And yet again, I'm inspired by my life experience to share with you. What it is I was thinking about, I was tried to watch TV earlier on, and over time, lately anyway, in the last few years, I've been discouraged by watching too much TV. And when I say discouraged, not only because of the content of the captions covered, but just because of a change in what it is I'm focusing on. Anyway, I was watching TV and it reminded me of today's experience earlier on. I'm talking about, at the moment, it is nighttime in Australia on a Tuesday night. Earlier on, I wanted to meet with a group of like-minded people who I believe are conscious of connecting to each other and just enjoying that for what it is, not dictating terms, of which I personally I've had enough of in my life experience, but just sharing. Anyway, when I was watching TV, I went into thought mode, inspired by a show that I was watching, and I just reflected on a conversation with someone I met at this beautiful place called the Royal Garden. It's run by an African lady called Mariam Issa. It is a commune place where people from different backgrounds commune in order to share, but also in order to tend to our environment and enjoy the synergy of vibrations, whether it is with the plants or what it is that is the theme of the particular day. Today the theme was to plant different not so much cultures, but to what it is I'm trying to say is to plant different species, that's it, of herbs. So we planted coriander, parsley, beetroot, or any other plant. We enjoyed, and when I say any other plant, the plant itself has also a special significant part in connecting with what it is we were opening up to at that moment. So there was a lady who coordinated the experience of gardening and sharing her knowledge. She was from a different country and had just recently arrived in Australia, and reiterated a few times that she doesn't know how to pronounce certain words or talk a certain lingo in order for people to understand. So to me, how I took it, she was conscious of her speech. Yet later on, when we discussed a few topics, I highlighted to her that her vibration in itself, her knowledge too, she's educated in the agricultural industry. Her knowledge, her experience, her passion, her spirit comes through despite barriers of expression of a language in a certain way. She expressed to me that Australians sometimes feel like when she says, I can, if you, what did she say? She said, you can do this, instead of apparently what Australians say, you may do this. So in its effect, she was saying that can was more confrontational, whereas you may do this, was more of a acceptable phrase in how to connect to people. It got me thinking also about the media and the influence. Are we, as a human race, going to concentrate on how different people express their uniqueness in order to force them to connect to our own understanding of a polite way to communicate in order for that particular person to accept what it is that the unique expression is adding to life in general. Concentrating on it being perfect in your own perception. Mark that, in your own perception of perfect, based on your history, based on your interactions, misses the communication, misses the message, misses the interaction, misses the vibration as you block it with your own understanding of, this is how you should communicate to me in order for me to understand it. Yet you know yourself that even if a human being cannot speak your language in terms of speak French, English very well, fluently, Ateso my language fluently, the essence of the person in what it is that they're portraying or communicating just automatically resonates. If it is that you don't block your mind, it is the prison of the mind. I don't know if you've ever turned a unit or a TV off in terms of sound, if you've muted it and you've just taken in various perspective outputs to the screen. If you do that, you tend to connect and understand a different expression. There's a different language underneath it all. It pronounces like a force, whether you try to distract yourself or whether you don't. And for me, I believe that if there is an expression in the universe, uniquely expressed, each expression is anyway part of the vibration. Just like you drop a little bit of water in the ocean, that little drop of water comes through as the magnitude of waves. It still is significant and will pronounce itself within that entirety. So now reflecting on TV, I began thinking, and it wasn't consciously me trying to analyze too much. Sometimes thoughts do come in like the wind, and it's whether it likens to you and you catch it. So what I caught in that thought is that there are various channels where human beings, or just the entire universe, has an effect. So sometimes, I remember when I was growing up, as a child, we were discouraged from watching TV, which I also respect, that parents have a way of controlling the input in a young child who is developing. But in terms of the understanding as an adult, I say that the TV that we, or some of us, may claim has a powerful impact, and I don't disagree that it has influence, is not the only arena for expression, as we know. So why it is I looked at it this way is I looked at the way I have used various channels to communicate with the public about certain issues, or just advertising the products of my business, or just as an expression. And at times I've linked with the understanding that maybe certain mindsets who do not have the avenues that I have sought to express think that, oh, that person is lucky, they've got those avenues to express themselves. Look, TV, I can't believe TV is such a big influence. Only if I had a channel on TV so as to influence people to view life in maybe the way I want. Understand this. Each person has an avenue or arena that influences the magnitude. Whether it is on TV, whether it is on the internet, or whether it is on the street, you talking to someone, or whether it is in a party, you talking to someone, or whether it is you just sitting there in thought form. It is manifest. That is the power, I believe, of a unique expression in the universe. So, in terms of being or feeling inadequate, oh, I wish I was maybe a star. There are stars everywhere. TV is an arena to showcase some stars, but other areas, or the whole universe, in whichever walk, whichever location, whichever space location in terms of thought, whichever intention that you intend to give or create, it has already been manifest. So this conversation is not a conversation to encourage anything or highlight that we should, they should view this. It's an expression. It's just an expression. It's like I'm in my lounge, actually in my room, feeling the urge to express what it is I have come to understand in terms of verbalizing it. That was there previously anyway, for it to come to a point where I can verbalize it. Because the connections that I have encountered today, I've just inspired the expression. What I truly believe is a being or a human being is as they are, and the life experience is just an expression of this being. So what it is I'm saying, it is already known. You're already known. You're already here. You've arrived, as Eckhart Tolle describes it. So if you choose to express it in different ways, so be it. When I was watching TV, there is another issue that caught my attention. I watched a caption on two cultural groups, and I won't say where they're placed in the world because for me that's not the issue. The issue here is the two cultural groups had a history of warfare, fighting against each other, which a mindset who is looking at their version of peace might say, oh, don't fighting. But we fight anyway, every day, within, without. If you see just a simple wave in terms of the vibration, and when I say wave, there are many currents coming to play to make it visible as a wave, opposing, uniting, repelling, uniting. A fight is similar, isn't it? Opposing, uniting, repelling, uniting, separating. A wave does that too. So that's in its simplest form. Also wind does that. If you look up to the sky, the clouds are fighting, if you want to describe it as that. It is change, evolution, creation, all into play. But let me highlight this. This cultural group had a history of fighting. So obviously peace was reinstated, uniting. But after a while, in terms of the two separate countries, and when I say culture group, they're two different cultures, but similar. Funny enough, it's similar. But in terms of the actual situation, there was peace reinstated, whereby borders were lifted and both cultural groups could cross the borders with the ease and freedom. As this took place, in the crossing, families were created or evolved. So I'll say cultural group A married cultural group B, or had siblings or children with cultural group B. So A and B united and created. Now, what is going on is that a certain cultural group has decided to close the borders, therefore separating the family or the created, what was created. So families are now separated. And so in this particular news coverage, say Group A was looked at. And Group A, some of the human beings in Group A were voicing out their frustrations of not being able to connect back to their families because of the overriding rule that specified that a border should be reinstated to separate. With all due respect, there may be reasons for the border or the decision to separate. But for a human being to not acknowledge the union that came forth from love, that created families, and to sever the separation by putting in a restriction. In my experience, that is not intelligent. For the ground that we all walk on comes forth, if you believe in God, because of a higher being. But also, don't forget, because of us who create, having the freedom of choice and will to create on this ground. So why should we state that we own the land that we walk on? Why should we specify certain conditions in order to honor certain ideas or ideologies based on fear, I have to say? For if you look at the universe, I believe that each individual being has been given a space to express uniqueness, to create. You can look at it in any way scientifically. Look at the simplest embryo. It duplicates itself. It divides and becomes more and more and more and more. It expands, just giving us the understanding that it is inevitable what it is you want to create. So why does the left arm look at the right arm in fear? Yet the space is enough. The function of the right arm is that function. The function of the left arm is that function. Why should the left arm question the right arm? Why question the union? Why separate? Why? It is your fear. There's no other explanation. If the ground we've been given, and when I say ground, I'm talking about earth, there's more. We resonate not only in the physical, there's the spiritual, there's the emotional, mental. We have impact in various ways. We can manifest what we want without even thinking about there not being space for manifestation. So, how I end this, in my experience, is to say that we all are important, but not only that we are important. there is a stage in wherever you inhabit, whatever way you choose to express, it will be manifest. So, as an individual, you are enough. The borders, the extent to which beings try to sever the union, the nature or natural connection, expression, leave it as that. That is what that individual attempts to do. But you and I both know that despite separation, the truth, the force, the power of the ultimate, your purpose in life will be fulfilled no matter what. If we look in my ending expression at I won't say the country, but we all know that it's not only one. There's certain countries that may have pronounced this separation and the borders, the restriction, and that understanding, by the way, is inherent in an individual that just culminates into I was going to say a position, but culminates into a situation whereby it alarms the human race because it has become bigger. But looking at certain countries that have had this understanding that maybe I should create a border, you'll find that it is not successful. Even in terms of creating that border, you find that the connection is still reinstated. We as human beings gravitate a lot on what is physically visible. There is more power beyond physical perception. Although physical perception is also important and powerful, definitely. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.